This is Big Podcast.
It's the marketing podcast for podcasters. Build a big podcast. My name is David Hooper, and this is the podcast to help you grow your podcast audience, make more people care about what you're doing, spread your message, get more money from your message, more money from your talents, speak words into a microphone that actually get heard. If you are interested in those things, you are in the right place. This is the audio edition of my weekly newsletter. That is called Big Podcast Insider. It is delivered via email. You can find more information about it at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Everything that I'm talking about here as far as links, it's all at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 179, and here's what it includes. What Tom Petty knew about podcasting. A video for every creative person ever, including podcasters. Audio survey. Get feedback from your listeners. Video tap. Convert videos into shareable clips. You're doing this, right? Why does listener retention look different on Apple versus Spotify? Also, some classified ads, things that will help you to grow your podcast audience, get more people to your podcast, make more money with your podcast. The things that this podcast is about. This episode of Build a Big Podcast is brought to you by Riverside.fm, a virtual studio that makes recording and editing at the highest quality possible, accessible to anyone, even you. You record your podcast like you normally do. Riverside.fm converts it into a transcript. And you edit it just like a word processing document. It's really nice when you've got a guest and somebody goes on a tangent and you're like, no, we can't have that included. Highlight the text, remove it. You don't have to listen to it ever again. Riverside.fm has something called Magic Clips. It transforms your long-form recording into bite-sized clips with a single click. You can add captions and subtitles to the videos it produces. It'll make it a perfect match for your brand. Do you want to try it? Yeah, you do. Do this. Go to riverside.fm. That's going to get you a free account. They're going to give you a couple of hours. It's enough for an interview, maybe 2 interviews. Fire it up, see how it works for you. You're going to like it. If you want to stick around, here's a discount code. Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. Go to riverside.fm, check it out for a couple of hours, see how you like it, and use the code Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. That's going to get you 15% off any of their paid plans. Riverside.fm, that discount code, Big Podcast, BIGPODCAST. Hey, before I get into everything in this episode, last episode, did I sound like myself? Something happened to the audio, man. I was already in an edit, and somehow, I don't know how this worked. The pitch got shifted. The time got stretched. It was me, but it was just a little bit off. I tried to fix it. You might not have even known. If you're curious about this, though, you can go back and you can listen to the last episode. That was issue number 178 of Big Podcast Insider. This one, it's going to sound different. It's going to sound more normal. Show goes on. That's what I can say. This is one of the reasons why I do backups. You never want to lose an interview. When you have a backup recorder, that'll make sure that you probably don't. But even then, things happen. There are so many funny stories that I could share with you of a recording not happening or almost not happening. And it ended up being a very simple situation. Something like an on switch was flipped to off. Didn't even know there was an on switch. Or the mic that you thought you were using was not the mic that was being used. So you're talking into a mic and you think, oh, this is going to be great. I'm right on the mic. I've got this great mic technique. But you listen back, there's a lot of reverb, a lot of room noise. It turns out the mic from across the room was what was picking you up. That happens. This is one of the reasons, by the way, where you always tap the mic that you're speaking into. Is this the mic that's being picked up? And that is especially important for remote guests. They don't know. They hear you, you sound great. They think, oh, I sound great. But if you're hearing room noise, if you're hearing reverb, have them tap on that mic. Sometimes the mics get switched accidentally. And that's what happened on the last episode. Not the mic, but something within the recording. I don't know. It happens, but I tried to fix it. If you want to go back and you want to compare it, the first part of that episode is just a little bit different. It's just a little bit off. I think I'm at 96% instead of 100% of my voice, if that makes sense. That's the speed and the pitch that I'm talking about, not the energy that I brought to it, because I bring in the energy all the time. 100% every single episode. Let's get to it. I'm going to go through these things that I talked about at the very beginning of this episode. They're all about podcasting, and in between, so you know that I'm going from thing to thing to thing, you're going to hear this sound. That lets you know it's time to go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com to get the links and to get more information. And we are going to the next thing. You ready to try it out? Here we go. What Tom Petty knew about podcasting. Do you know Tom Petty? Maybe not. Everybody back in the day did. This is how you know you're getting old. Oh, yeah, Tom Petty? Who? Or it's just the opposite of that. I watch the Grammys, or I'm checking out at the grocery store. I see People magazine, and they'll say, this celebrity did this. I'm like, who? No idea who those people are. Anyway, Tom Petty, famous songwriter and musician. And he has a quote, at least he gets credit for this. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. It was actually Berry Gordy, founder of Motown Records, that said that. Regardless, it's good advice, and it's going to help you attract more people to your podcast. What Tom Petty did know about was the struggling of podcasting when he said, the waiting is the hardest part. We all want what we want now. What is that you want? More listeners, sponsors, better gear? I'm curious about this. What do you want for your podcast? Let me help you get it. Reach out to me via Mastodon, Blue Sky, or Threads. You can shape what I'm talking about here on Build a Big Podcast, Big Podcast Insider, the books that I do about podcasting. Let me know. Again, you can reach out to me via Mastodon, Blue Sky, or Threads. All the links available at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Big Podcast AMP. If you like the newsletter, you like the podcast, you're going to love Big Podcast AMP. That stands for Audio Monetization Program. This personal coaching program helps you do three things. 1, grow your podcast audience. 2, get people talking about your podcast. And 3, make more money with your podcast. You can get details at bigpodcast.com/amp, A-M-P, bigpodcast.com/amp. A video for every creative person ever, including podcasters. This is a serious question. Does the world really need another podcast? And more specifically, does it need your podcast? I think we should look at ourselves and what we're creating. Does the world really need my podcast? As a podcaster, you probably question what you're doing. And if you're reaching enough people with your podcast, you've definitely had some of them question what you're doing. I've got a video for you. It's got some great thoughts on self-reflection, time management, client interaction, dealing with feedback. I think you're going to connect with this. Everybody is going through this. If you put something out on the internet, even if it's a podcast that just gets a few listens, if it's something on your local neighborhood message board, if it's a reply on Facebook, if it's an email that 3 people see, you are going to get feedback on it. And it may have you question, should I have said this at all? Maybe if you don't get feedback, you're questioning that. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And that's good. That's good. Self-reflection is good. But I think you have to do it in a certain way. You have to be open because you're going to get feedback, and some of that feedback is good. But you also have to understand that not all feedback is helpful. Not all feedback is accurate. Not all feedback is coming from somebody who knows what he's talking about. This is a great video. It's going to take you, 5-10 minutes to look at it. Even if you skip through it, it's going to be worth it to you. I've got it linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 179. While you're there, reach out to me. Again, you can do this via Mastodon, Blue Sky, or Threads. What is your biggest frustration as a creative person? What are you running into? Are you scared to release something, for example? Are you worried? Are you sensitive to feedback? You get in the cesspool of YouTube and, ooh, man, it's toxic over there. How do you deal with that? How do you keep yourself grounded? I want to know the good, bad, and the ugly. Do reach out to me, Mastodon, Blue Sky, or Threads. You can do that at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Audio survey. This is how to get feedback from your listeners, or one way anyway. Audio survey gives your listeners questions that they can answer, and they respond to you by talking instead of typing. Then what it does is it transcribes and summarizes their opinion. They call it AI. We've been talking about AI a lot. It's helpful. Maybe you take listener feedback via audio. You got a voicemail, something like that. And somebody will connect with you, call in, whatever. Hey, this is Bob from Walla Walla, Washington. I listened to episode number 142. 20 minutes later, Bob's still going. It's nice to have AI. It can break down these things, especially for somebody like Bob who might be repetitive. And then you did this. And then you did that same thing that you did a minute ago like this. And then you did that exact. Look, man, I appreciate the Bobs of the world, but we got to get to the chorus. Don't bore us, right, Tom Petty? The guy who did Audio Survey, he has a great tool that I've recommended here before. It is called Audio Pen. He knows what he's doing when it comes to voice and AI. This tool is free right now and definitely worth a look if you want an easy way to collect feedback from listeners. Check it out. I've got it linked. newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Video tap. Convert videos into shareable clips. Making a video and marketing a video are two different things. Video tap automatically converts your videos into shareable clips, social posts, and other written content. It is a great way to help take advantage of YouTube's new features, including community posts. Are you aware of community posts? This may be the top thing in this newsletter. If you did not see this, go to newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 179. YouTube is expanding beyond videos. This is sort of like, let's call it a Facebook timeline. You can post text, you can post photos, you can post audio. If you're looking to build on the traffic that YouTube has and have a community around the stuff that you're putting out, around your podcast episodes, this is a great opportunity. VideoTap can help you with this. You've got these long-form podcasts that you do. Take advantage of YouTube. Tools like VideoTap, they're going to help you do that. I've got it linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Also, the community post link. If you are on YouTube and you've got a channel for your podcast, this is already available to you. They just rolled it out to everybody, I don't know, a month or so ago. It's been around for a little bit. And I've been watching what guys are doing, the guys that have the really big YouTube audiences. It's an opportunity. I think it's untapped. When any social media company comes out with something new like this, they are pushing. There's a reason they developed it. They want you to use it. Because of that, they're giving you a boost when you do use it. So do take advantage of it. Newsletter.bigpodcast.com, issue number 179. It is there for the taking. Do it now. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. You're doing this, right? If you are interviewing authors, it is great to read their books ahead of time so you can competently discuss them. If you're interviewing musicians, you should listen to their music for the same reason. But the best thing that you can do to get a great interview on tape is a short, casual pre-interview call. 10 minutes, maybe. This is going to help create trust and rapport, as well as give you and the guest an idea of what you're getting into ahead of time. I've done hundreds of interviews, and sometimes I've got to work just a little bit harder with people to get a good one. Other times, one question, I'm good. They can get me in, they can get me out. They've got a complete linear story. It's amazing. You want to know that going in. You want to be prepared. Even with those guys that are really good on the mic, those linear stories, you know they can get in, get out. You still want to be prepared. A pre-interview is part of that. If you can't get time with a guest ahead of your interview, try somebody related, an assistant, a publicist, a coworker, even a spouse. These are the people who know the guest's backstory, and they're going to give you perspective that nobody else can. For example, I might get to a manager or a publicist. What is something that nobody asked this guy that you think would be interesting for my podcast? What is something that you see in this person that you know he would love to talk about that would be great for me to ask about? Basically, what you're saying is, how can you make me look good so I can make your guests look good? Now, you might be interviewing somebody who doesn't have these things, an assistant, a publicist, a coworker, or a spouse. What do you do then? Ask your listeners. A few months ago, I released tape of me interviewing Dolly Parton. There was the interview, but there's also the pre-interview. And I'm talking about, in this case, the pre-interview, me and my producer waiting for her to come through on the line, because this was a press junket. She was going from interview to interview to interview, working with the person setting up that interview, and a post-interview wrap-up with the producer where we are looking at ourselves. Hey, did this go okay? I didn't have a lot of time with her. She wasn't somebody who was available for a pre-interview. I was lucky to get any time with her at all. She was very busy. I went to listeners. I went to Facebook. Are you a Dolly fan? Everybody's like, yeah, we love it. I mean, people are crazy. Like I said, I've done hundreds of interviews. I've never had this kind of excitement over a single interview. And people are giving me ideas left and right. Ask this, talk about this. People were tagging other people. This guy's a big fan. Talk to him. And I did one of those guys. Reached out to a guy that I don't know. I said, hey, you're a big fan of Dolly. What would you ask her? He gave me a great question and it changed the entire interview. I talk about this. I've got this interview linked at newsletter.bigpodcast.com if you didn't hear it. This is what makes great interviews. It's not enough to ask the same old questions. You want to go deep with the guest and get the most from them in the time that you've got with them. I'd love to hear what you're doing for pre-interviews with guests. Like I said, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and Threads, those are great ways to get in touch with me. You can find those links, the link to the Dolly interview, everything that I'm talking about here at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. Why does listener retention look different on Apple versus Spotify? If you want to go deep on this, I've got a full article linked. That's right, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. But here's what you need to know. Apple Podcasts evaluates listener habits on average. This covers the number of listens per person, the portion of an episode that's listened to, play button presses, sections skipped within the episode, and the moment listeners stop listening. The average provided represents a comprehensive summary of all this information. Spotify, on the other hand, Spotify evaluates listener trends by identifying the moment in the episode when half of the initial audience is still engaged. All of this is great to know, but some advice. You don't want to be in a situation where you live and die by the algorithm. Remember that your podcast is for people. There is somebody on the other end listening to you, hopefully being positively impacted, feeling something, improving on themselves, making the world a better place, some kind of impact. Your podcast is for people, not tech companies. You want that article, more information on this? Newsletter.bigpodcast.com. This is issue number 179. Classified ads for you. Swell AI automates writing podcast summaries, articles, social posts, and more. You can manage multiple shows in one dashboard. Build custom templates for each show. It connects to Google Drive, Dropbox, and Zoom to speed up your podcast production process. You can get started for free. Automated episode notes. How great would that be? You can do it with Swell AI. I've got a link for you to check it out, again, for free at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. The $100 podcast studio from Focusrite. It is available now. It includes a Vocaster One audio interface. I love it. This is the interface that I use in my office. Right now, I'm using a Focusrite 4i4, same preamps. If you like the sound that I'm getting here, you can do something similar with the Vocaster One audio interface from Focusrite. This $100 deal also includes a mic, the Focusrite DM1 mic. It is very similar to a Shure SM57, SM58. It sounds good. You're going to hear every bit of yourself sounding good because this deal also includes studio headphones, all the cables you need. $100. It's perfect for a solo podcaster or somebody doing only remote interviews. If you've got two people in the same room, there's a $200 package. It's a different mic. It's very similar to the Shure SM7B. They call it the DM14V. I've used that as well. It is a great mic. It's got studio headphones, the cables, everything that you need. $100, $200. You can't go wrong with either one. You're going to love these deals. I've got them linked for you at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. I've also got a full review, newsletter.bigpodcast.com. When you are ready, this is how I can help you even more. If you want the shortcut to building a podcast that people care about, this is what I've got for you for free. I've got Big Podcast Extra. These are short emails to help you build an audience, attract clients, and make money via podcasting. You seeing a pattern? There are a lot of ways to do it, and I'm going to help you do at least a few of them. Seriously, I'm going to give you a lot of ideas because they're not all for everybody. And some of them you're like, no, I can't do that. That's why I've got 1,000 other ideas for you to make money, build an audience, attract clients. It's called Big Podcast Extra. That is available to you for free. Also, the Podcast Growth Toolkit, I call it the Swiss Army knife of podcasting. These are templates, forms, everything you need to build a big podcast, build a podcast where you are protected legally, where you have the rights to use the information that you're putting out into the world. I've talked about this before already, and I'm wrapping up this episode, so I'm not going to go too deep into it here. But I have found myself in federal court for copyright infringement over things just like this. It's one of the reasons I put this toolkit together. You think it cannot happen to you? It can. Be careful out there. Protect yourself. I've got the link for you to do that. It's at newsletter.bigpodcast.com. And if you want to go deep with me on those thousands of different ideas to grow your podcast audience, let's look into some of them for you. This is called Big Podcast AMP. I mentioned it earlier. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. Personalized coaching for indie podcasters to help you grow your podcast audience, build your authority, brand, and reputation. You and I, we're going to work together to do it all. You want to make a podcast that people care about, that makes your mother proud, that makes you money? Yeah, it can happen. And Big Podcast AMP is the best way to do it. bigpodcast.com/AMP. That is where you will get more information. Go there, read the letter. If you've got questions, do reach out to me. I'm here every week, and if you want to make sure that you do not miss me, subscribe. This is also free. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. I've got 3 buttons for you to do it. One for iPhone, one for Android. One is an RSS feed. I've got a QR code that you can scan. I want you to have this information. And again, it's free. So take it. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Get subscribed. Never miss an episode. And I will see you on the next Build a Big podcast.